A crisp autumn morning in Manhattan, where luxury hotels stretch toward the sky like glittering beacons of hospitality. Among the stream of wealthy guests entering the prestigious Golden Crown Hotel, a confident woman in a tailored burgundy suit approaches the front desk, her Louis Vuitton briefcase in hand. Her dark skin glows with success, and her elegant demeanor speaks of someone who's built an empire from the ground up. What happens next would later make headlines across the country. Despite her platinum credit cards and global business reputation, the hotel staff begin their carefully crafted dance of excuses. "So sorry, ma'am, but we're fully booked." Yet just moments earlier, they'd happily confirmed availability to other guests. The security guards hover unnecessarily close, their eyes following her every move. Our protagonist, Sarah Richardson, isn't just any successful businesswoman. She's a self-made tech billionaire who transformed a small software startup into a Fortune 500 company. But in this moment, standing in that marble lobby, all her achievements seem to vanish behind the color of her skin. The front desk manager barely maintains eye contact as he repeats the rehearsed lines about computer system errors and mysterious overbookings. The other guests pretend not to notice, their discomfort hanging in the air like heavy perfume. Sarah's been here before, not at this hotel, but in countless other moments where her success crashed against the wall of prejudice. But Sarah Richardson didn't become a billionaire by accepting defeat. As she walks out of the lobby, her heels clicking against the marble floor, a subtle smile plays across her lips. While the hotel staff might see this as the end of an uncomfortable encounter, Sarah sees it as the beginning of something much bigger. What the Golden Crown's management doesn't know is that Sarah's visit wasn't random. She's been researching hotel properties for her next business venture, and their shabby treatment just made her decision much easier. Over the next few weeks, through a series of quiet but strategic moves, Sarah's investment company begins acquiring shares in the hotel's parent corporation. The whispers start circulating through the industry. Someone's making big moves in the luxury hotel market. But nobody connects these business maneuvers to the woman who was turned away that autumn morning. The Golden Crown's management remains blissfully unaware that their next board meeting will change everything. 3 months later, Sarah walks back through those same doors. The same front desk manager is there, but this time, something's different. The hotel's employees are lined up in the lobby, their faces a mix of anticipation and nervousness. The regional director stands at attention, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. Sarah approaches the front desk, her burgundy heels echoing through the now silent lobby. "Good morning," she says, her voice clear and confident. "I believe you have a room for me today." The manager starts his usual routine, but before he can finish, the regional director steps forward, his face pale. "Ms. Richardson," he stammers, "we've been expecting you. Welcome to your hotel." The look on the front desk manager's face is priceless as realization dawns. But Sarah isn't here for revenge. She's here to transform not just a hotel, but an entire culture. As the new majority owner of the Golden Crown Hotel Group, she has plans, big plans. But first, she has some important changes to make, starting with the hotel's hiring practices and diversity training. Because sometimes, the best response to discrimination isn't just a success. It's using that success to open doors for others who might face the same barriers. What happens next would reshape not just the Golden Crown, but the entire luxury hotel industry. But that's another story for another day. The story of how Sarah Richardson came to stand in that lobby as the owner of the Golden Crown Hotel Group begins 25 years earlier, in a small apartment above her parents' bookstore in Detroit. While other kids played video games, young Sarah spent her afternoons learning about inventory management and customer service, watching her parents turn their modest bookstore into a neighborhood institution. Her mother always told her, "Baby, when they close a door in your face, build your own house with a bigger door." Those words would echo through Sarah's life, pushing her forward through MIT's computer science program, through countless investor rejections, and through the lonely nights building her software company from her studio apartment. By 30, Sarah had developed revolutionary supply chain management software that caught the attention of major retailers. By 35, her company, Logitech Solutions, was handling inventory systems for half of America's biggest retail chains. The same executives who once dismissed her ideas were now paying millions for her expertise. But success didn't shield her from prejudice. It just changed how it showed up. She'd walk into high-level meetings and be mistaken for someone's assistant. Luxury car dealerships would direct her to their more affordable options. And hotels, well, hotels were a particular sore spot. Which brings us back to the Golden Crown incident. What the hotel staff didn't realize during their discriminatory dismissal was that Sarah had already experienced similar treatment at 3 other premium hotels in the past year alone. Each time, she documented everything: the timestamps, the staff names, the convenient excuses. She had also noticed a pattern. All these hotels belonged to the same parent company. In the 3 months between her rejection and return as owner, Sarah had been busy. Her team uncovered a troubling history of discrimination complaints against the hotel group, all quietly settled out of court. Employee surveys revealed a toxic corporate culture that rewarded prejudiced behavior with promotions and punished those who spoke up. The day Sarah walked back in as owner, she carried more than just the power of her purchase. She carried a comprehensive plan for transformation. In her briefcase was a new corporate mandate, one that would shake the hospitality industry to its core. But implementing it wouldn't be easy. The old guard of hotel management wasn't going down without a fight. Whispers started circulating through the industry about her aggressive takeover. Some longtime employees threatened to quit rather than implement her new diversity initiatives. Anonymous letters appeared in the press questioning her qualifications to run a luxury hotel chain. But Sarah had faced worse. She understood that true change doesn't happen overnight. It happens one decision, one policy, one person at a time. She started with the front desk manager who turned her away. Instead of firing him, she did something unexpected that would later become legendary in the industry. During their first meeting in her new office, she pulled out the security footage from that day. The manager, expecting to be humiliated and fired, sat rigid in his chair. But Sarah had different plans. "I want you to help me understand," she said, pressing play on the video. "Walk me through what was going through your mind that day." What happened next would become the foundation of the most innovative diversity training program in hospitality history. But as Sarah sat there, watching the color drain from the manager's face as he struggled to explain his actions, she couldn't know that her biggest challenge was still to come. Because somewhere in the Golden Crown's corporate offices, a group of old money investors was plotting to take back their hotel, and they were willing to go to extraordinary lengths to maintain the status quo. The first signs of trouble came in subtle waves. Board members mysteriously missing crucial votes on diversity initiatives. Long-term corporate partners suddenly backing out of contracts. Anonymous tips to health inspectors that always seemed to coincide with visits from potential investors interested in Sarah's new vision. But Sarah Richardson hadn't overcome decades of obstacles by being naive. She'd installed her own team of financial analysts who uncovered a disturbing pattern. A group of minority shareholders, led by Theodore Wellington Ioe, was quietly orchestrating a campaign to devalue the hotel's stock. Their plan was simple but effective: create enough problems to drive down the share price, then swoop in with a hostile takeover bid. What they didn't count on was Sarah's strategic foresight. Years of facing discrimination had taught her to always have contingency plans. While Wellington and his allies were plotting in boardrooms, Sarah was building a coalition of her own. She reached out to other hotel owners who'd faced similar discrimination, forming partnerships that would strengthen not just her position, but the entire industry's approach to inclusivity. The tension reached a boiling point during the annual shareholders' meeting. Wellington arrived with an army of lawyers and a stack of documents he claimed proved Sarah's mismanagement of the hotel chain. The grand ballroom of the Golden Crown's flagship hotel crackled with tension as he stood to make his presentation. "Ladies and gentlemen," Wellington began, his voice dripping with practiced concern, "I regret to inform you that under Ms. Richardson's leadership, our beloved institution has lost its way. Our bookings are down, our reputation is suffering, and our traditions are being dismantled in the name of so-called progress." The room filled with murmurs as Wellington displayed carefully selected statistics on the projection screen. But Sarah sat calmly, that same subtle smile playing across her lips that she'd worn the day she was turned away from the hotel. She knew something Wellington didn't. As Wellington concluded his damning presentation, Sarah slowly rose from her chair. The room fell silent. In her hand was a single USB drive, one that contained surveillance footage from every discriminatory incident at Golden Crown Properties over the past 5 years. But more importantly, it contained evidence of Wellington's group's illegal market manipulation attempts. "Mr. Wellington," Sarah's voice carried clearly across the hushed room, "before you continue, I believe there's something the shareholders need to see." She walked toward the podium, her heels clicking against the floor in a rhythm that matched the pounding hearts of everyone present. But before she could reach the podium, Wellington's lawyer rushed forward with an injunction attempt. Security guards moved uncertainly between them, unsure whose orders to follow. The other shareholders watched in stunned silence as the power struggle they'd been quietly witnessing for months finally erupted into the open. Sarah stood her ground, USB drive held high. "Every person in this room needs to make a choice right now," she declared. "You can choose to remain part of the problem, or you can be part of the solution. But before you decide, you should know exactly what you're choosing between." The tension in the room was unbearable as Sarah faced off against Wellington and his allies. Two visions for the future of the Golden Crown Hotel Group hung in the balance. But what happened next would change not just a hotel chain, but the entire conversation about corporate responsibility and social justice in America's business world. In that moment, with all eyes on her and everything she'd worked for hanging by a thread, Sarah Richardson prepared to reveal the truth that would either save or destroy everything she'd built. Just as Sarah was about to plug in the USB drive, the hotel's power went out. The grand ballroom plunged into darkness, emergency lights casting eerie shadows across concerned faces. This was no accident. Someone had deliberately cut the power to prevent her revelation. But they didn't know Sarah always had a backup plan. She calmly pulled out her tablet, its screen illuminating her determined expression. "Fortunately," she announced, "I anticipated something like this might happen. That's why I already sent copies of these files to every major news outlet and the SEC 10 minutes ago." The color drained from Wellington's face as his phone started buzzing. No doubt his lawyers calling with panic in their voices. But then came the real twist, one that nobody, not even Sarah, had seen coming. From the back of the room, an elderly man slowly stood up. It was Richard Montgomery, Wellington's own father-in-law and one of the hotel's original founders. His voice shook with emotion as he began to speak. 30 years ago, he said, I turned away a young black family from this very hotel. That moment has haunted me every day since. I watched this industry perpetuate the same prejudices decade after decade, too cowardly to speak up. But today, watching Ms. Richardson stand her ground, I can't stay silent anymore. The room collectively held its breath as Montgomery made his way to the front. He pulled out a folder of his own, documents that revealed how he'd been secretly supporting Sarah's takeover from the beginning, working behind the scenes to help her gather evidence of discrimination throughout the hotel chain. Wellington's face contorted with rage. You betrayed your own family, he spat. But Montgomery stood firm. No, Theodore, you betrayed everything this hotel was meant to be. My father built this place to welcome everyone with dignity and respect. We lost our way, but Ms. Richardson is bringing us back. Just then, Sarah's tablet lit up with breaking news notifications. The evidence she'd sent was already making waves. Major investors were publicly pledging their support for her leadership. But Wellington had one last card to play. He pulled out his phone, threatening to expose alleged irregularities in Sarah's initial stock purchases. Go ahead, Sarah smiled, but first, you might want to ask your IT team about the real reason your computer systems kept accidentally canceling minority guests' reservations. She nodded to a young woman in the corner, Wellington's former head of IT operations, who stood up holding another USB drive. The room erupted in chaos. Board members huddled with their lawyers, shareholders frantically checked their phones, and Wellington's allies began distancing themselves from him one by one. But Sarah remained calm, standing in the center of the storm she'd created. As hotel security led Wellington, and his closest conspirators from the room, Sarah finally walked to the podium. The emergency lights flickered back to full power, almost like a spotlight on this pivotal moment. She opened her tablet, ready to share not just the evidence of wrongdoing, but her comprehensive plan for transforming the entire hospitality industry. But before she could begin, the hotel's former front desk manager, the same one who turned her away months ago, rushed into the room with urgent news that would throw everything into chaos once again. In his hands was a document that would change not just the future of the Golden Crown Hotel Group, but the entire landscape of corporate America. The front desk manager, now promoted to Director of Guest Relations under Sarah's leadership, held up a yellow document from 1963. It was the hotel's original charter, with a never-implemented clause that would shock everyone in the room. The Golden Crown had actually been established with a mandate to be the first fully integrated luxury hotel chain in America, but the clause had been buried by previous management during the civil rights era. This means, Sarah announced, her voice steady and clear, that for the past 60 years, this hotel hasn't just been morally wrong, it's been operating in direct violation of its own founding principles. The revelation sent shockwaves through the room. Shareholders who had been wavering suddenly found their moral compass backed by legal necessity. But the true masterstroke came when Sarah revealed the second part of her plan. She wasn't just going to transform the Golden Crown. She was going to give ownership stakes to every employee, from housekeepers to executives. The hotel would become a model of true corporate democracy, where success was shared by all. Wellington, watching his empire crumble from the sidelines, made one last desperate move. He revealed that he had secretly recorded conversations with Sarah, claiming they would prove she had orchestrated everything from the beginning. "You deliberately came to this hotel knowing you'd be turned away," he accused. "You planned this whole thing." Sarah's response silenced the room. "You're right," she said calmly. "I did know what would happen, because it had happened to me in every other hotel in your chain. The difference is I decided to do something about it, not just for me, but for every person who's ever been judged by the color of their skin rather than the content of their character." Then came the final twist that no one saw coming. Sarah pulled up a list of every guest who had been turned away from Golden Crown hotels over the past decade. She announced that each one would be offered a symbolic ownership share in the company, transforming former victims of discrimination into hotel owners themselves. The room erupted in applause as Sarah announced one last detail. The hotel's first major renovation would convert the very lobby where she was turned away into a civil rights museum, documenting both the darker chapters of the hotel's history and its journey toward redemption. Richard Montgomery, tears in his eyes, walked to the podium and handed Sarah his family's original key to the hotel, a golden key that had been passed down through generations of owners. But Sarah didn't pocket it. Instead, she had it encased in glass, placing it in the lobby with a plaque that read, "Some doors were meant to be opened by everyone." As the meeting concluded, Sarah noticed the security cameras catching something remarkable. Guests of all backgrounds walking freely through the hotel's front doors, being greeted with genuine smiles and respect. The Golden Crown was finally living up to its name, not because of its luxury, but because it now treated everyone like royalty. 1 year later, the hotel chain would win multiple awards for its groundbreaking corporate structure and diversity initiatives. But more importantly, it would become a blueprint for corporate transformation across America. Other companies started following its model, proving that ethical business practices and profitability could go hand in hand. And Sarah? She kept the burgundy suit she wore on that first day, hanging it in a glass case in the Civil Rights Museum, next to the Golden Key. Below it, a simple quote reads, "Success is not just about proving them wrong. It's about making things right for those who come after you." The Golden Crown became more than just a hotel chain. It became a symbol of change, a testament to the power of turning rejection into revolution. And as for that front desk manager who once turned Sarah away, he now leads the hotel's diversity and inclusion training program, sharing his story as a powerful reminder that change is possible, one person, one decision, one day at a time. 5 years after Sarah Richardson's historic takeover of the Golden Crown Hotel Group, The transformation was complete. The hotel chain didn't just survive, it thrived. Bookings reached all-time highs, with guests specifically choosing Golden Crown properties because of their commitment to equality and their revolutionary business model. The Civil Rights Museum in the lobby became a mandatory stop for business schools teaching corporate ethics. Students would stand in the exact spot where Sarah was turned away, listening to recordings of similar stories from the past, then walk through interactive exhibits showing how systematic change can reshape an industry. Wellington's downfall became a cautionary tale in corporate America. After the SEC investigation revealed the full extent of his discriminatory practices, he faced serious legal consequences. But perhaps more fitting was that he was forced to watch from the sidelines as his former hotel chain became the gold standard for corporate responsibility. The employee ownership program exceeded everyone's expectations. Housekeepers who once lived paycheck to paycheck now had retirement security. Front desk staff sent their children to college using their dividend payments. The hotel's turnover rate dropped to near zero, and employee satisfaction scores soared off the charts. Sarah's mother's bookstore in Detroit was renovated and expanded, becoming the first of many Golden Crown community centers. These spaces, attached to each hotel property, provided business training, mentorship programs, and support for entrepreneurs from underserved communities. The centers embodied Sarah's belief that success means nothing if you don't help others climb the ladder too. The former front desk manager, Michael Chin, became a sought-after speaker on corporate transformation. His honest accounts of his own journey from bias to awareness helped other businesses understand that change wasn't about punishment, it was about growth. His training program was so successful that other hotel chains started sending their staff to learn from him. Richard Montgomery spent his remaining years documenting the hotel's history, ensuring that both its mistakes and its redemption would be preserved for future generations. His memoir, The Golden Truth, became required reading in hospitality management programs worldwide. But perhaps the most powerful testament to the hotel's transformation came from an unexpected source. One day, a young black girl walked into the lobby with her parents, looking up at the soaring ceiling with wonder. When Sarah happened to be passing through, the girl's mother told her how they'd chosen the Golden Crown for their family vacation specifically because of its history. "My daughter wants to own hotels when she grows up," the mother explained, "and I wanted her to see that it's possible." Sarah spent an hour giving the girl a personal tour, showing her the operational heart of the hotel, from the kitchens to the executive offices. At the end, she gave the girl her business card, writing on the back, "Dream big, work hard, and remember, you belong everywhere." Today, the Golden Crown stands as more than just a hotel chain. It's a living example of how confronting discrimination head-on can lead to positive change. The golden key in the lobby has become a symbol of hope, reminding visitors that sometimes the most powerful response to prejudice is success coupled with systemic change. Sarah still walks through that lobby every morning, greeting staff by name, many of whom are now fellow owners. The burgundy suit in its glass case catches the morning light, a reminder of how far they've come. But she's not done yet. She's currently working on an industry-wide initiative to transform other hotel chains, proving that ethical business isn't just right, it's profitable. As she often says in her speeches to young entrepreneurs, success isn't just about building wealth, it's about building a better world. And sometimes, the best revenge against discrimination isn't just proving them wrong, it's showing everyone a better way forward. The Golden Crown story continues to inspire, reminding us that one person's courage to stand up against injustice can spark a revolution of positive change, not just in business, but in the hearts and minds of people everywhere.